Bienvenue à tous. Welcome to Reporters here on France 24. I'm Marco, and in this edition, we look at how India's energy policy is threatening the Himalayas. There's already the urgent issue of global warming that caused a glacier to melt and caused a devastating avalanche some 2 years ago. Added to that, there was the issue of India's clean energy ambitions. There seem to be two things that don't quite add up. Let's bring in our reporter, Navodita Kumari, joining us from New Delhi. Navodita, great to see you. Why did you want to investigate this disaster that happened 2 years ago? Is there more to it than meets the eye?
Yes, because as we know that the Himalayan region is no stranger to landslides, cloudbursts or flash floods or even forest fires. But what is surprising is that in recent years, the frequency and intensity of these disasters have significantly increased. So as these disasters keep on happening, it's also amplifying the vulnerability of the people living in all the 13 Himalayan states, risking the lives of at least 80 million people. Extreme weather events have been happening because of climate change and also a lot of unchecked development in the region. Glaciers are also retreating quite fast than earlier. And as we know that the Himalayas have the largest number of glaciers outside the two poles, the magnitude of the risk they pose to the people and the region is very, very high.
Navodita, thank you very much indeed. Let's take a look then at Navodita's report with Alban Alvarez.
I was down there on the farmland, near the bridge, with my mother-in-law. The weather was not bad that day. The sky was clear. At 9:30, I was down there. Then strong winds started blowing, making some strong noise. I figured I should check what was happening. The wind uprooted all the trees and plants, and everything was swept along with them. Nothing was visible in the debris.
Godambari Devi will never forget the 7th of February 2021, the day the landscape of her village Reni completely changed within seconds. A part of a glacier from the nearby Ronti peak cracked and fell more than 6,000 meters below, triggering a tsunami of icy water and gigantic rocks gushing down at a speed of over 100 kilometers an hour. It quickly wiped out everything on its way. Nearly 200 people lost their lives and over 100 are still missing. Godambari lost her mother-in-law in the disaster. That day, they were both working next to the river on their farm. Only ruins remain of her field now.
We searched for the body for 10 or 15 days with the help of a bulldozer that dug through the debris. But we didn't find anything. Later, a dog found a piece of her dress, the traditional black and yellow dress we wear in our community. Since that day, we have been scared. We had never seen anything like this before. No one, not even our elders. They said so themselves. They had never seen the mountain break away like that.
The violent flash flood also washed away 2 dams, along with dozens of people who were working there. One of the dams was in the village. 2 years after the disaster, workers are still clearing the debris and reconstruction work is slowly picking up. Environmental activist Atul Sati has been fighting against such big projects in Uttarakhand for more than a decade.
This bridge was destroyed. Now it appears that some military has been bombarding here during an act of war. So what we see here is actually the conflict between man and nature.
Scientists believe numerous Himalayan glaciers are melting or retreating at a faster rate than before due to global warming. They warn of more frequent and violent climate disasters like this one in the future.
The Himalayas are a fragile range. The mountains are very weak. The kind of development projects ongoing there are going to prove to be extremely dangerous for the future. Receding river water is one impact of global warming, but we have to also see how we deal with the situation, whether we are thinking about water conservation or projects which do not cause any further harm to the Himalayas and produce less heat.
To show the devastating impact of global warming combined with rampant construction, Atul takes us to the Tapovan Vishnugad hydropower project just 6 kilometers away. This under-construction 500 megawatt dam was completely shattered by the flash flood, and it was here that the most deaths took place.
It's the epitome of greed that the authorities think that they can exploit this river and nature as much as possible. They have made the river travel from one tunnel to another, thereby completely destroying the natural course of the river and its path. Its entire route and ecology are being totally ruined in the name of development.
Atul's fear is not baseless. The government wants to turn Uttarakhand into a hub for hydropower projects in its race to search for clean energy for its growing population. Home to nearly 1,400 glaciers, Uttarakhand is also the birthplace of the country's largest rivers, including the Ganga and Yamuna, making it an ideal location for dams. The tiny state is dotted with nearly 90 dams that are under construction and over 40 that are operational. And among the ones recently opened is this: the Lakhwar Vyasi Dam on the Yamuna River, 400 kilometers west of Rani. To build its reservoir, the government picked Lohari village and completely submerged it last year when the dam started generating electricity. Nearly 100 families living here were forced to evacuate. Among them is Naresh Chauhan.
All these houses, courtyards, different fruit trees, farmlands, everything has been submerged. It hurts me a lot and makes me cry to see my village like this, because it's where I spent my childhood. It's my birthplace. Seeing my motherland turned into ruins sends shivers down my spine.
His family of 13, including his mother, brothers, his wife, and children, used to live together in their 100-year-old ancestral house.
There are 2-3 rooms here. This was the store, and there was a toilet and bathroom there. Over there we had our kitchen garden.
Naresh feels they are collateral damage in the country's push for rapid development.
Haven't we given up everything for electricity production? The government also has a responsibility towards us when we've sacrificed for them, giving up our ancestral land, everything including our homes. So it should be the responsibility of the government to make sure we are adequately compensated.
The Indian government promised to give land to the villagers as compensation for the farms taken. But last year, they backtracked. In protest, some families are camping in an old school building, the only standing structure in the village.
We had a lot of land. We're farmers. We grew our food ourselves. We never had to buy fruit from shops. Now they've driven us out like this. Where can we grow our crops? And where will we go? It was extremely heartbreaking to leave my house and land, everything that my ancestors put together with so much difficulty. We have lost everything now.
It's not only hydro projects that are damaging the fragile Himalayas. Wherever we went, we witnessed massive construction work. They were not any ordinary project, but part of Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi's dream project, the Char Dham Yatra, or the Four Shrine Pilgrimage, under which new highways and railway lines are being built since 2016. It aims to attract more tourists by drastically reducing travel time. But Himalayan activists have been raising alarms against the dangers of such large-scale projects. Among the prominent voices is that of Hemant Dhyani.
It's a road project, and it seems that they are making a bridge from there to here. And during this construction, these small tributaries is completely choked, that cut whatever they want or whatever is required for the road, and the debris which came out from the cutting, they just dumped down towards the slope.
Just a few meters away, we found another extensive construction site, and this one is for the railways.
They're digging inside the mountain. This railway project has more than 100-kilometer tunneling. So there is a quite irreversible, irreparable loss in terms of the forest, in terms of the green cover, in terms of the water springs. And in this fragile region, this is the first experiment of the railway. And that massive experiment is being done without any proper scientific study.
New railway tracks and highways are being built without any assessment of the threats they pose to the sensitive Himalayan ecology. Non-stop intensive work is in progress to complete the Char Dham or the Four Shrine project by the end of next year. But on our way to one of the shrines, Hemant finds something odd and stops to inspect.
For widening of the road, I think they are drilling these holes to blast this rock mass. All the experts of the Himalayas, for years they are recommending that the blasting in the Himalayas in Uttarakhand should necessarily be banned. This blasting will further destabilize the mountains.
Despite such repeated warnings, the government plans to maximize the tourist inflow to these sacred places from the annual footfall of over 3 million people. We arrive in the holy town of Badrinath. There are plans to convert it soon into a mega city.
Like this master plan for a spiritual smart hill town, like Dubai, Singapore, Goa. The people for ages, for centuries, used to come in the Himalayas for this inner peace, not for this kind of smart things.
Badrinath is home to one of the most revered Hindu gods, Vishnu. Hindus aspire to visit the sacred temple at least once in their lifetime, as they believe coming here washes away all their sins. Over the past years, there has been a steady increase in the number of people visiting. It's expected to rise to over 30,000 people a day in the coming years. But mass tourism in ecologically sensitive and geographically unstable areas can have terrifying consequences. A decade ago, just 40 kilometers from here, a cloudburst ravaged the temple town of Kedarnath, killing nearly 10,000 people.
This kind of mass accumulation, if something happens, some landslide trigger, some cloudburst happen, it would be the same scenario as it was in 2013 Kedarnath disaster. And it seems that we forget that. We didn't learn anything. It is actually overburdening the shrines in each and every perspective. This is disastrous. What we are making.
Recent catastrophes in the Himalayan region should act as a wake-up call for India, making it vital for the country to integrate its hunger for rapid growth with environmental sustainability.
Our reporter Navodita Kumari is still with us. Navodita, thank you so much for that insight into what's happening in the Himalayas. Another thread, of course, that's been developed by Narendra Modi is that of pilgrimage tourism. in spite of warnings given by many local campaigners of the possible impact that this could mean. So tell us about Joshimath, that most recent disaster.
Yes, early January this year, in the Himalayan town of Joshimath, many houses started developing cracks. Even roads started developing cracks, and it created a huge panic among its over 25,000 residents. And it was only after days of protest by local environmental activists and residents that they were moved to safer locations. But the houses kept on sinking and crumbling, and the residents are angry at the government, especially for their development project and the mega hydropower project, the Vishnugad Tapovan project, and they blame and say that rampant tunneling is happening in the fragile Himalayas, which is making the ground unstable. And the activists also say that they have been warning against such, impacts for decades, but they were ignored. They are saying that because of uncontrolled construction and the hydropower project, and also lack of urban planning and drainage system has led to this crisis. And another factor, as you just mentioned, is Narendra Modi's pet project, the Four Shrine project, which is leading to construction of rampant construction of hotels and restaurants, putting a lot of pressure on environment and the local resources.
Navodita, there are many more of these hydro power projects planned throughout the Himalayas. Tell us more about that, the possible impact.
Yes, all around the Himalayan region in India, around 500 hydropower projects, small, medium or large scale, are under different stages of construction. And scientists have warned that these hydropower projects are being constructed without any proper environmental studies or monitoring. The government wants to double that figure to around 1,000 hydropower projects, saying that it needs to find greener solutions to find to meet its energy demand. And also, apart from hydropower projects, there are railway lines, there are highways under construction. For highways going to the border areas near China, government says that like for national security, they are exempting those projects of any environmental assessment. And for railways also, it's exempted from environmental scrutiny and monitoring. So instead of a mindful development, the government is going for shortcuts, risking the region.
Navodita, thank you very much indeed. Navodita Kumari there in New Delhi. You can see the report again via our website, france24.com. This is Reporters on France 24. Stay with us. Much more to come.